Hi, I'm Eva Guerrero.
And I'm Riley Klein.
While here at the National Youth Leadership Forum Pathways to STEM, a problem approached us. A piece of the ancient treasure map went missing.
It was our job to try to crack the case, find and figure out the criminal and their accomplice, as well as finding the missing map piece.
We used our medical, engineering, and CSI skills to crack the case.
Here is Medical Examiner A group. Hello, I'm going to start this video off with Medicine Part A. We started off with making splints and wrapping the injured crew. Then Chief Stewart had a collapsed lung and we made a balloon model to see how the lung functions. We all took turns and found a partner and pretended to have injuries and then splinted and wrapped each other.
The first thing we did in medicine was applying splints to our classmates. We did this because some of the crew members broke, sprained, or fractured a bone during the accident, and Dr. Smart needed help putting the splints on the injured crewmates. The injured crewmates had fractures such as the simple fracture, the closed fracture, the comminuted fracture, and the open fracture. A simple fracture is a single break through the bone. A closed fracture is any kind of fracture that does not have broken skin overlying the break. Comminuted fractures have multiple breaks or crushed portions of bone. An open fracture is any kind of fracture that does have broken skin overlying the break, whether bone is poking out or not. These fractures are much more prone to infection.
Another thing we learned during the Emergency Medicine A unit is that we learned how to make a model lung. The reason why we did this is because people aboard got hurt and one of their lungs collapsed and we needed to learn more about the lungs. I learned that when you inhale, your lungs inflate like this. And when you exhale, your lungs deflate like this. Also, I learned that we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. We are the Medical Examiner A, and that was us explaining how we put on a splint and how we made a model lung. If you want to learn how to put on a splint and how we made a model lung, you should come to National Youth Leadership Forum Pathways to STEM. Next group will be talking about how we made a robot and how we made a truss bridge. This part is called the engineering specialist.
Hi, my name is Eva.
And my name is Emma.
This week we used our engineering skills to find 2 crew members of the Envisioneer that unexpectedly went missing.
We had to build a bridge to get across the island to save the missing crew members.
Here is Burhan and Daniel
showing the truss bridge we made.
This is a truss bridge, and we are going to cross it.
They had to build the truss bridge because the island was non-human accessible after the storm. We had to program the robots to go to the island, find, locate, and signal us so that we could find the missing crew members and bring them back. Here's Daniel and Burhan again, showing the MBOTs and the code we made to find the crew.
Using this code right here, we are able to send the MBOT off to find the missing crew members. And once it finds what it thinks is the missing crew members, despite it being a trash bag, it signals us. So then we can find them.
This is what we learned in engineering this week. Programming, coding, and much more.
We are Medical Examiners B, and we will be discussing the cow heart dissection and the snake bite analysis. The purpose of the cow heart dissection was to help other crew members of the Envisioner understand a treatment option Dr. Smart had been exploring. The purpose of the snake bite analysis was to figure out which snake had bit first Cindy Young.
During this week, we all did multiple activities such as dissecting a calf heart and analyzing snake bites.
but in this presentation, I will be talking about dissecting a calf heart. While dissecting the heart, we learned about the aorta, vena cava, right and left atriums, right and left ventricles, pulmonary veins, and pulmonary artery. Also, while dissecting the cow heart, one thing I noticed was the valve separating the right atrium and the right ventricle was a lot different than the drawings. It was very stringy instead of looking like a plastic one-way valve. Dissecting the cow heart helped the CSI case by giving Dr. Smart more information so he could perform a surgery on a failed heart. Next, analyzing snake bites.
While analyzing the snake bite on first mate Sydney Young, we read through a brief description of what the snake bites looked like. We concluded that the snake who bit Young was the Malayan pit viper. After being bit, Young claimed to have been kidnapped by shipwright Robert Neff. This information led to a lot of clues on who had stolen the piece of the missing ancient treasure map. But after this mysterious news, Neff denied this allegation of kidnapping Young. To cover for Neff, Dr. Smart said Young would most probably have mild delusions after being bit by this neurotoxic snake. Again, he did this to cover for Neff because he didn't want the both of them to be caught for stealing the ancient map.
In conclusion, we are Medical Examiners B, and those are the clues and activities that we did during our Pathways to STEM experience to figure out who is the traitor in the case of the missing.
We did the blood spatter analysis so we could find the criminals on the ship. We were all crewmates on the ship. The crew found blood drops, so we had to do an investigation.
Our crew measured blood drops from 12, 30, and 66 inches. 12 averaged 11 millimeters, 30 about 14, and 66 around 16.
This week we worked on blood splatter. We did this by dropping fake blood from several heights and comparing the size of each of them. We did this because we needed to figure out what height blood fell from. We used pipettes to do this. Us scholars did this to narrow down suspects in the case of the missing map.
In conclusion, we found out that it was blood drops from someone leaning over to grab the treasure map.
Action.
Welcome to Forensic Science. In this part, we will talk about the mystery powder and the fingerprints.
So while we were trying to figure out what the mystery powder was, we didn't notice much at first how the cornstarch was similar to the mystery powder, but then after a series of experiments, we determined that because the reactions to different materials was the same, they were actually the same material, which is actually very important to the case because if it was cornstarch found at the scene of the crime, that would mean that like a doctor had to give it to someone bleeding, because cornstarch has healing properties because it can absorb blood.
While finding out the mystery powder, we collected data and found it is cornstarch. Next, we dusted fingerprints to find out that Robert Neff and Nicholas Smart are the traitors.
Welcome to Forensic Science. We dusted fingerprints and mystery powder, and we used mystery powder. It turns out that Smart was the suspect and not very smart. We mixed white powders with water, vinegar, and iodine, and the mystery powder had the same reactions like cornstarch.
My name is Juliet Rios,
My name is Anthony DeCesar.
and this week us scholars here at Pathways to STEM concluded that Dr. Nicholas Smart and shipwright Robert Neff pled guilty for stealing the piece of the ancient treasure map.